Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our DirectView LED webinar. We apologize for all the technical difficulties we just had in the last 11 minutes, but it sounds like most of you were able to join with the new link. So hopefully this is working. If not, we will send the recording to all the attendees and you could always forward it to your colleagues as well. We're really excited to talk about dvLED market. We're seeing a huge market expansion in this category. So we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. Before we begin, I do want to just go over a quick housekeeping items. We are raffling off our TD1655 monitor. This is mine. I love it. I use it all the time when I'm on the road or working at a coffee shop. Fits easily into your backpack. So stick around till the end of the webinar. And if you are a lucky winner, we will reach out to you via email. And then secondly, we do have our Q&A chat enabled in the webinar. So please feel free to drop in your questions and we'll do our best to address them throughout the webinar. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, we will send the link to all attendees and registrants. I know we had a few technical difficulties. So again, we apologize for that. So we will send the recording afterwards. And then with that, let's kick it off with a really quick video. Awesome. So that was just a very high level overview video of kind of our three solutions that we offer here at ViewSonic for the dvLED category. I know our experts that I'm going to invite very shortly will go over them very soon, but just to give like a quick recap, we have our configurable and customizable solution with different aspect ratios called our LDC series. And then we have our all-in-one solution with sizes ranging from 136-inch all the way to 231. We call that our LDM series here at ViewSonic. And then lastly, we have our foldable, our portable series called our LDS series that you could pack in a flight case. So with that being said, I'm really excited to introduce our round of speakers for today. They're all individually, I work with them on a regular basis, and I can testify that they're all experts in their field, whether it's product knowledge to technicality to field solutions. So I'm super excited to invite them on this call. Introducing to you Jeff Muto, we've got Maz Quidai and Michael Turley. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Maybe we could just start off with a round of intros, beginning with Jeff.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. I'm Jeff Muto, the Business Line Director for ViewSonic. So I oversee product, including the DirectView LED line that we're going to talk about today for the Americas.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Turley. I'm the Senior Regional Business Manager for our enterprise customers in the Midwest. I'll be going over some of the different customer applications that I see out in the field, different use cases, and things of that nature.
Hi, my name is Maz Quidai. I'm the Field Solutions Architect here at ViewSonic. Some of our things include we go over consultations with the direct views as well as the extensive product line of ViewSonic.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining our call today. I kind of mentioned earlier, we're seeing like a huge market expansion in the dvLED category. So I actually want to kick it off with a question to Jeff. Curious, like if you could kind of share our journey today and what you're seeing from the product and engineering side in this dvLED category.
Sure. So I think where the industry was, when you traditionally think of a LED video wall, you kind of think of sports arenas, shopping malls, Las Vegas, where you have these huge monstrous screens. And obviously that comes with a huge price tag. The product category that we're in is actually an all-in-one direct view LED. And what that's done is it's basically a self-contained unit. So there's a lot less customization or labor involved in the installation of it. So it's pretty much ready out of the box, where you can mount the thing on the wall or on a stand, and you're ready to go. And you can get a much larger screen than you can get with a traditional panel. So with that flexibility and the cost being a lot lower, it's become a lot more accessible to more and more customers. So if you do want a 231-inch screen, it's something that you can easily and conveniently purchase for a reasonable price, and installation's relatively easy. I know Maz is going to talk more about that. And you can have something that's a showstopper as people walk by your lobby, or even in an executive boardroom or anywhere like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You kind of talked about how traditionally they were very expensive, and then now it's really evolved, becoming more accessible to customers and a lot more affordable. I want to turn it over to Michael, because you're out in the field all the time with our enterprise customers. And I'm so curious, like, you've been in this industry for a long time. So curious what you're seeing out in the field, kind of trends of the dvLED market, and what is some of the traction that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think accessible was really a good keyword to use there, because it's the accessibility of this platform is really opening up the use cases. Not only is it more cost effective than it ever was, where we can see the financial benefit to moving it outside of large venue presentations into more of conference rooms, larger boardrooms, things of that nature. But also the technology is much more accessible. It's not a complicated product anymore. Once it's installed, once it's on the wall and it's up and running, we can treat it like a standard commercial display. So now my end users, my partners are able to actually self-maintain, not have to worry about having these large expensive contracts just to run the panel. It's a simple HDMI input and we're displaying content. So it makes it much more usable, much more self-serviceable.
Gotcha. No, and you touched upon a lot of important things there. Like, I heard affordability, I heard, being more accessible, and really something that is very complex. It's now a lot more prevalent now in today's market. Jeff, I briefly mentioned earlier, like, our three main lines. Can you kind of talk about what we offer here at ViewSonic in this dvLED category, and kind of the different use cases for each of them?
Yeah, certainly. So let's start with the LDM. So those are the 131, the 136, the 163, and the 231. So those are fixed screen sizes. So it's really easy. You pick your screen size. They're all 1920 by 1080, so full HD. And really, if you have a certain area that you want to fill, and you that fills the wall and accommodates your use case, that's kind of what you'd go with. So it's the simplest of the three. Then you go to the LDC. So that's a bit more configurable. So then that allows you to manipulate the size according to the wall or stand that you want to put this on. And you can do anything from a traditional 16:9 aspect ratio. You can go to an ultra wide. You can go in landscape or portrait. You could even make a square screen if you wanted. Obviously, you'd have to design the content to allow for non-traditional resolutions or aspect ratios. But it's fully capable and customizable. So that's why the C in LDC means configurable. And then finally, we have the LDS, and that's kind of the showstopper. Every time we show it on the trade show floor or introduce it to customers, that is our mobile folding LED display. So yes, you can take an LDM and put it on a stand. The problem is, you got this big thing on a stand, and how do you put it away if you're not using it, or if you want to move it around more frequently? The LDM comes with a flight case. It's fully assembled, so all you have to do is unpack it, unfold it, plug it in. So within 15 minutes or so, you can be up and running. And then once you're done with it, you kind of just pack it up, fold it up, store it until the next time you need it. So for special occasions, special events, things like that, it's a very popular product.
Awesome. Thanks for giving us that overview. We actually did get a question from the audience, and I thought this would be a good time to kind of go over it. But yeah, I guess this is kind of for the group. How much heat does each screen size give off? Maybe Jeff or Maz, if you want to chime in.
I could take this one. Okay. So I don't know the exact amount of heat in terms of measurement, but it does run relatively cool, because they're LED modules, so they are very heat and electricity efficient, power efficient. So yes, they do. Obviously, the bigger you go, the more heat it's going to generate. But but even so, the control box and power supply, it's actually attached to the bottom of the unit. You could even mount it behind the unit. So in terms of heat, it's not a concern. Also, the heat dissipates from the front of the unit, not towards the back. So anything behind it is fine. If you stand close to it, maybe for long enough, you may notice that, that there is a little bit of heat emanating from the screen, but that's normal. And for those that want to build it into an enclosure, correct me if I'm wrong, Maz, but it's basically an inch or two that you need along the borders in order to kind of keep it cool and keep it running safely.
That's correct. So the recommended specs on it is to have 2 inches all around for the heat dissipation. As you guys can see, I've been sitting in front of these screens for quite some time. I feel no heat to my back. So the heat dissipation, like you said, Jeff, is straight from the front and very minimal.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Maz, because I was going to turn it over to you, actually, because you're the only one on the call in front of 2 of our dvLED products right now. Can you kind of show the audience which 2 products you're in front of?
Sure. So to my left and right behind me, actually, this is the mobile display Jeff was just talking about, our LDS 135. And then to my right is the LDM 136. This is our glue-on board model where the control bar, like you mentioned, could go right behind the display, be hidden, and very, very versatile products. This one's with the glue-on board on the tiles, so the tiles are protected. I can touch them, scratch them a little bit, which we don't always want to do, and they're protected.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. And Maz, you're our field solutions, and so I know that you're constantly overseeing installations for dvLED. So yeah, but before the installation, I know there's kind of that pre-installation and consultation that you do with the customer or the end user. So this is a very complex process, especially for dvLED. It's not like as simple as purchasing a panel for a conference room. So I was just curious if you could kind of walk us through the process. What are some things that customers can expect during the pre-installation process?
Correct. Yeah. So we're involved, not just myself, but the field solutions architect team. We're involved from beginning to end. So when any sales reps go in, Mike would go in and have a conversation. We're brought in right away. So everything from the structural integrity of the wall to power requirements to installation time, as well as drawings, all full specs. Our team is involved with providing all that information and making sure everything goes smoothly from the beginning to the end of installation. Even during the installation, ViewSonic will be present should you guys need us there to ensure everything's working, do a full checklist, inputs, power, that the product's up and running before we leave.
Great. You mentioned Mike, and so yeah, I want to turn it over to Mike. I know you and your team probably work very closely with Maz's team and the customer as well during this pre-installation, pre-sales process. Is there anything you want to add here?
Yeah, so I mean, we really want to get hands-on with everybody in the space. So, we start with looking at the room space that we're looking at putting in, figuring out where everybody's going to be sitting, what's the best viewing distance from the panel, and then design the panel around those applications. That's kind of where the different pixel pitches come in, different viewing distances come along with that. And then we engage with Maz and his team to go through that whole pre-installation checklist of, here are the power requirements. Here's exactly the outlets and the electrical requirements that are going to be needed. Here's the structural requirements for mounting the panel to the wall. That way, before the product even shows up, everything is ready to go. Everything's laid out cleanly. And as Maz mentioned, we come in with like a supervisory installation. So whether you're using one of our certified installers or your own third party, you're going to have somebody with ViewSonic, part of that installation to handle any issues that may come up during that install. But realistically, we pretty much check the box on any of those major questions before the product even arrives.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like this teamwork here. Yeah, it sounds like ViewSonic is kind of with you every step of the way with the customer, kind of really making sure that all of your needs are met, whether it's the mounting capabilities, we talked about power requirements, working with your installer, or possibly our third-party service that we offer as an option. I'm just curious, like the build time to order for these, and I think this is a question for Jeff, really. because you kind of mentioned our configurable series, which is the LDC, and then you also mentioned the LDM, which is our all-in-one. What is like a typical build time to order for these different dvLED solutions?
So with the LDM as well as the LDS, those typically we have in stock. There may be occasions where we don't, and we'd have to build it. And in that case, and as far as build time, lead time, as well as for the LDC, it's about 3 months, and that's end to end. That's from building it all the way to shipping it over. So roughly 3 months is kind of the estimate, and that's probably on the longer side. In some cases, we could be a little shorter than that.
Gotcha. So about maybe like 2 to 3 months ish for the configurable solution. And then our other two solutions, it sounds like they're usually in stock. So we'll be able to ship it out to you fairly quickly. Awesome. So we kind of covered a little bit about like pre-installation. I want to talk about installation. And so, yeah, I'll kick it over to Moz over here. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a very complex process. So just curious, can you kind of walk us through any examples or what the customer can expect during installation?
Yeah, so what we do is we work with either the AV partners, or the customer also has the option to purchase an installation SKU from ViewSonic. So I'll go ahead and go over, I'll talk about the AV, customer process first for installation. So installation in any case, given the product, takes about 1 day, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours with 2 people. And as a supervisory role, the ViewSonic rep will be there to kind of handhold and help the guys out during the installation process. Some of the requirements, again, like I spoke about, is making sure the wall's reinforced, everything's straight. If we need to shim, just like any construction site, we want to make sure everything's ready and in place while we're putting up the wall. It's an all-in-one solution. So that's not only for the technology of the product, but it's also a kit. So each individual cabinet goes up. So depending on the size, there's about 5 to 8 cabinets on the dvLED. So what's different is the cabinets are all vertical cabinets, so about 5 deep, and the railing goes up and then the cabinets hang, they're connected, all the power and signal is relayed, giving for that super fast, super clean installation, and for us to be able to get it done in a day, less than a day, in most cases.
Awesome. I think this is actually a really great segue because you kind of mentioned cabinet and tiles. Jeff, I think you have a sample cabinet next to you. Can you show our audience, that tile, and then kind of anything special or cool about it that you want to touch upon?
Okay, most people don't get to see the back, so this is the back of the unit. Unique thing about this is that it has magnets, so it kind of snaps in place when you hold it in front of the cabinets. And this is one individual tile. It's glue on board, so it has the epoxy resin coating on top of the LED beads, which protects it. So really, you can scratch it, you can bump into it. It's quite durable. So in any public setting where you've got a lot of people around the display, this will definitely protect it. So that's really what's unique. It's IP rated, IP54, so that's the ingress protection rating. So it is not waterproof, but it is splash proof, and then it's also dust proof. So for example, something like the LDS, it's not necessarily designed for outdoor use, but if you have an outdoor event for a few hours, you're perfectly fine taking it out, albeit weather permitting. That's one of the key improvements we've made over time to make it this glue on board.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that glue on board because whenever I'm in the office, I always run my hands over it with that smooth coating, really being damage resistant. And like Jeff shared, the IP54 rating. When I hear all that, I think of durability, longevity, right? Really making sure that the product is durable, not just during installation, but also after for any external use. Jeff kind of mentioned potentially being outdoors or indoors. So when I think about that, I know we were kind of talking about GOB. This really unlocks a lot of potential opportunity and use cases for our dvLED solutions. Whether that's in public spaces, even if in the boardroom, like Mike mentioned earlier. So I want to ask this question to Mike. Can you kind of tell us, I think pixel pitch options? There's a lot of different pixel pitch options, and so what are the use cases for each of them, and what do you think are kind of what are we expecting to potentially also release, and what do we offer now?
Yeah, so as far as the pixel pitches go, I think it's really the main rule of thumb on pixel pitch is generally 8 times the pixel pitch to figure out what your optimal viewing distance is in feet. So we have everything from like a 1.5 pixel pitch currently that can do anything between like 9 to 16 feet. So pretty good for your medium, large size conference room when you think about where everybody's going to be sitting in lieu of the panel. And then we go beyond that with our 216, which has a 2.5 pixel pitch. So really that size of the screen, it really lends itself to a much bigger space. So then we're looking for somebody, around 12 to 14 feet up to about 30 feet away from the panel where you can still really see the text, the viewing, as well as get a good image on the screen. So it really just opens up those applications from everything from that large conference room type space down to the medium conference room, executive boardrooms, taking it much more out of like the digital signage and making it more of a part of the standard kind of working day.
I love that. Yeah, because I think when we think of dvLED, it's a lot of digital signage, which is clearly a use case. But like you said, we're seeing a lot of these in conference room and boardroom settings, just being now that it's a lot more accessible and affordable. I want to kind of talk about the control box. And I know, Moz, you're kind of sitting in front of it, but I know it's detachable and there's a couple of different ways that you can install it. Moz, is that something you could share with us? Like, what are the different ways? And I know that we're also going to release a rack mount option as well.
Yeah, so there's three installation methods for the control box. One is the one we're looking at here, which is the standard, where the control box is right here at the bottom. All the inputs, everything's accessible from the front, which I'll show you guys in a minute. This panel opens up and the board's back there. All the cabling can go straight back. So everything's hidden and out of sight. The second option is the hidden control box option, where we use a different railing for the installation. It gives about 3 inches off of the wall, 3.5 inches off of the wall. And that's where the control box goes to the rear of the panel. So everything's still accessible. All your AV is still routed through the back. Your power is routed through the back. Just it'll be frameless and the control box to the back. The third installation type is the separate control box, where we provide it's a 30 feet of cables. So the control box can actually go back into the media room, out of sight, in another room in the back. So everything's going to be hidden, and you could run your AV controls from the rear of up to 30 feet away. Upcoming future option, as you mentioned, is going to be the rack mount, which will also be a way in the media rack, and the signal and everything will run from there to the panel.
Awesome.
So we definitely have some options there.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for walking us through that. Can we actually see that live here? Like you mentioned front serviceability of the control box. So would love to see you kind of open it up, and then
Sure.
if you could tell us why that's important.
So the front serviceability, right? We talked about that. We talked about the tiles being up front and heat dissipation from the front. So even the tiles are front serviceable. All our electronics are right behind the tiles. So if there should be an issue, tile needs to be replaced or the board is bad, you just pop off a couple of tiles and replace the hardware. Same thing with the front. Power's coming into the front, and as you see, I already have our magnet tool right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this open. And this will show us all of our components from the front. So here's the main board. Our HDMI inputs are right here in the front. So there's 3 inputs right here, and HDMI out, and then HDMI 4 is on the bottom. All of our RJ45 cables carrying the signal are coming straight out. Everything, again, like we talked about that simple kit option, everything's labeled, all the signals going up. So even during installation, again, there's no guessing what cables go where. Or getting cables crossed, right? Getting our wires crossed happens all the time. So everything is labeled A, B, and C. Even if things get mixed up, the cables are labeled. RS-232 LAN control board is separate right there. Again, right here, I don't know if the camera could zoom in. We have ports for the cables to be hidden. It's just like our installation here. Everything's hidden, super easily accessible. Yeah, everything's right there.
Awesome. Thanks for showing us that. Yeah, like as you mentioned, front serviceability, really easy to maintain versus the back of the display. I did get a question about power requirement. And so maybe I think this is kind of a good time to answer it, either Moz or Jeff, like any specific power requirements other than the 120V.
Yeah.
If you want
So,
to,
what was that?
would you like me to address
Yes.
that? Yeah, so I mean, these are really efficient products. Even our portable 135 inch, it's made to plug into a standard 20 amp, 120 volt outlet. That way, it's really accessible. No special, circuits need to be run. It's really made to be kind of pop in, pop out if you're doing an all hands meeting with the portable. On up to our largest 216 inch all in one, we're looking at dual 30 amp, 120 volt outlets. So really not a ton of power going in, which also kind of addresses the heating and BTU issue. Energy obviously turns into heat as you're using it. So the more efficient that the product is, the less BTU that we're seeing, as well as, in very sensitive, controlled environments, that's where the rack mount controller will come in, because then we're moving a lot of that heat away from the panel or the room that the panel's in, and it'll be in a smaller, whether it's a network closet or a media closet that's somewhere nearby, that's a little bit easier to spot cool or things of that nature. And then on up to our custom sizes, it's really hard to give you a general power idea. It really depends on the size, the shape of the screen. But realistically, like I said, we're looking at, a standard 216 inch with dual 30 amp 120 volt outlets. Very efficient product, very easy to use. One of the nice things is we do have an online configurator for our LDC modules, the customizable one. So that way we can design that size, that shape, and see what that power requirement is going to look like based on the exact specifications that you're looking for.
Thanks for that, Mike. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? For LDC, it's going to really depend upon the project, but we are there, part of the process in that pre-installation or the consultation process. I want to hand it over to Jeff. Yeah, we kind of talked about this calculator a little bit. Can you explain a little bit like what that is? And then I'm assuming, we work very closely with, on the product side at least, with the client on that, just that overall LDC process when someone wants to put in an order potentially.
Yeah, certainly. It's a web tool, so your integrator or yourself could really plug in the numbers and figure out what you need. But really, what we like to do is have someone like Moz or the other field solution architects collaborate with you to figure out how big's your wall, how big of a screen you want to go, what resolution that you need, all the critical decisions that go into a large purchase like this. Because we want to make sure at the end of the day, we provide the right product for you, you get what you're looking for, and once it's installed, that you're fully satisfied. So, it's not it's not an overnight decision. A lot of times there's a bit of back and forth, especially to figure out, if you want to cover the entire wall versus partially cover the wall. And we're there for you along the ways. The configurator is very easy, so we can quickly make changes and modifications to what you need or what you want based on your needs, and we can provide you multiple options if that's what you seek. So yeah, it's really a very good experience. I think the customers are really happy with the support and consultation that they receive pre-sales, which leads to a efficient and happy install.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like what I just keep hearing is ViewSonic is really with you every step of the way, making sure that we're able to fit your needs, configure your space, figure out the power requirements, work with possibly your installer, your electrician. So thanks for sharing that, Jeff. I want to turn it over to Moz because you are sitting in front of two of our dvLED products right now. Really curious. So actually, this is real story. This morning, we were unfolding our LDS, and then one of our tiles actually got damaged. And so I wanted to ask you, how do you repair it? Repairability. If one of the tiles does get damaged or scratched, is there a way that we could replace it, or do we have to call someone? Can you kind of show us that live here?
Yeah. So I'll talk about that a little bit, and then I'll show you. So the tiles, all the direct view walls come with spare tiles, and those are in the container, ready to go. During the time of installation, if we need them, or anything should happen to them after the fact. But as far as switching them out, let me show you that. Very, very simple. It comes with this vacuum tool, our little handy dandy vacuum tool, which will be charged up and ready to go. And just to pop out a tile, I'll go ahead and grab this one here. Very simple. Now it's hard to see some of the lines, so I'm going to kind of just get right there. And you can see that pops right out, pops right out, pops right back in. Here's a circuit board that I was talking about. Everything is serviceable from here. So again, just to pop the tiles right back in. The magnet will grab it and the tiles go back in.
Ooh,
It's very seamless, very easy. So serviceability
very
is
cool.
at a snap.
Yeah, thanks for showing that. I was
Yeah, no
going to
problem.
say, so yeah, to our audience, this happened this morning as we were setting up for this webinar.
Yeah.
And so Moz came over and was able to kind of replace that tile, get that spare tile from the flight case, and then swap it out within like 3 to 5 minutes. And then we powered up for this webinar. So, and what's really cool is you have the unit on, right? Like you didn't have to power anything off, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So everything could be up and running and on while we service it. Unless we're changing boards, then we want to obviously turn it off. But the tiles, just like I demonstrated right now, didn't have to turn the unit off. Everything would be up and running while we swap out tiles.
Very cool. You kind of mentioned spare tiles. So I think, yeah, this is a question for Jeff. Like what's provided in the spare tile policy for our different dvLED lines?
Yeah, so the spare tile policy is we provide you 5% spare tiles. So that's included with the LDM and LDS. Also with the LDC. However, with the LDC, since it's custom and built to order based on your configuration, you also have the option of purchasing additional spare tiles if you'd like. As far as for the LDM or LDS, like I mentioned, they do come with 5%. If you want more, we could do a special build to build more spare tiles for you. And the reason being that the reason why you'd want to do that is A, so you have spares, but B, because out of the production, the tiles will be color matched within the batch that it's being produced in. So it'll give you the most seamless transition as you swap one tile for another.
Gotcha. So it sounds like 5% spare tiles, and then you could potentially purchase more for the LDC upfront. And then got it. Okay, and while we're kind of on this topic of like repairability, spare tiles, I want to talk about warranty, like customer service, what's kind of provided to our customers if you purchase a dvLED solution.
Yeah, the standard warranty is 3 years. So that's parts and labor that cover the manufacturing defects. Obviously incidental damage, if someone does break or damage the tile, is not necessarily included, but we try to be flexible and try to help you where we can. If someone does have an issue or question about how to operate the product or anything like that, typically what Field Solutions does, though, since they are on site during the installation, following the installation, they'll kind of give you a quick training on site as far as how to operate it. So, and then once they leave, if you have other questions post sales, you can certainly either call your ViewSonic sales rep like Mike, or you can go through our call center and then forward that call to the proper person to address your questions and needs.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. I want to conclude it with just like a final question for this group. And maybe we could start with Jeff and kind of just go around the table. But yeah, I'm just curious, like what your thoughts are on this dvLED market. Where do you see this market trending towards, especially as we kind of wrap up 2024 and enter into 2025? Yeah, Jeff, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to grow. Definitely. I think one of the things that we are definitely seeing is, again, as the price tag of an all-in-one has become more compelling to put into not just retail public spaces. As Mike mentioned, you're starting to see it more in boardrooms and places like that, meeting rooms, conference rooms. And the reason is typically in the past with traditional commercial displays, you'd have to put multiple displays up. You could tile it and do like a 2x2, but then you have the seams in between each of the 4 displays. Also, whether you wanted to run it as 4 individual displays or one single large display, you still have the seams. It didn't look good, especially in, let's say, a corporate CEO's office or meeting room or boardroom. And what this has done is, as Moz mentioned when he flipped over that, open the front, it has 4 HDMI inputs. So not only can you input select and display one image like you see in the background behind Moz now, but you can also, it has a feature in it built in where you could do a multi-screen. So you could tile for example, 4 inputs. So you use it, split the screen yourself. So it's kind of like a picture-in-picture, picture-by-picture type feature. So that makes it a lot more attractive for these in-office, conference room, meeting room, boardroom solutions. So I think it's really going to expand quickly just in that scenario, as well as continuing to grow within the public space realm.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. No, when you were talking about like being seamless, yeah, I could totally see that. As you mentioned, that we're really expanding there. Any last thoughts here, Mike or Moz?
Yeah, I think just to go back to the accessibility, I think as these are getting more accessible, like Maz showed with the front end tile replacement serviceability, it's making people feel a lot more comfortable with this type of technology. We don't need the costly service contracts with different installers. If a tile goes out, any end user can pick up and replace a tile with one of those spare tiles that we have without even powering the board down. So I think as we see that accessibility start to get out there, we start seeing the use cases moving, I think it's going to start becoming more and more cost effective as it's being adapted further into the different markets, as well as we're going to start seeing more cost effective improvements. I know ViewSonic already has planned to start going even tighter on the pixel pitches in 2025, and we're excited about that. So we can start seeing more of that medium and small conference room space taking advantage of these products, just like the large conference room to the boardroom space.
Awesome. Yeah, I keep hearing accessibility, affordability, and really kind of expanding all of the user scenarios within the conference room space too, not just the public spaces or the large, arenas. Any last thoughts here, Maz?
No, just to expand on what Jeff and Mike were saying, is the versatility of the product is really there. We're seeing a lot of it replace the video walls with the direct view, the cleaner look, the ease of installation, and ease of maintenance.
Gotcha. I do see one more question from the audience. Just the warranty policy for our dvLED. Maybe we could elaborate on that a little bit more, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know if they're looking for any specifics, but it is a 3 years parts and labor, and 5% spare tiles are also included with the shipment.
Gotcha. And we do have our warranty policy up on our website, so we could also definitely share that as a link, after the webinar. But yeah, I think we covered a lot today. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties in the beginning, but really, I think it was really cool to kind of see our dvLED products live. We talked about front serviceability, repairability. We talked a lot about this market just growing and expanding and really becoming accessible to all, as we're seeing more all-in-one solutions kind of coming up to the market, not just from ViewSonic, but from other brands as well. And so, yeah, with that, we thank you everyone for your time. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jeff. And thank you, Moz, for kind of showing us that vacuum tool and replacing that tile. I do want to remind everyone about the giveaway. We will randomly select a winner, hopefully by end of day, and then we'll reach out to you via email. And so, yeah, thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Stay safe and healthy, and see you next year. Thank you.